This Thursday, Bonelab, the most hyped up advanced VR game to date, was released. And even on the Quest 2, it's absolutely beautiful. And the moment that I loaded up the game and chose an avatar, I already knew that this was going to be an absolute revolution in the VR industry. Bonelab starts by doing something that is pretty rare in a video game. They set you in a situation, no questions asked, no explanation, you're just there and something is about to happen. Your character is about to be hanged and tensions start to rise when the platforms below you start giving way, when all of a sudden a knife appears which you use to cut yourself free, and all of a sudden you find yourself in an abandoned research facility underground. The longer you spend in each area, the more you find out about the game's physics system and just how advanced it actually is. You'll also discover more weapons and gameplay mechanics, and bits of the story are also told by these clipboards written by Boneworks employees. And that's honestly one of the main reasons I love this game so far. Instead of just throwing all of the story and features in your face, it lets you discover them on your own. The game continues to do a really good job of this throughout the first main part of the story until you come across the elevator that was seen in the original Bonelab teaser. After a failed attempt to reach the next floor, you find yourself in the Bonelab. While this is the point that the rest of the game stems from, there's something else super important that you'll find here, the body mall. And this is where the avatars get really interesting. You can select a bunch of different avatars, but based on the measurements like t-shirt size and height that you gave the game at the beginning, as well as the measurements of the avatar you selected, and it'll work out some crazy black magic so that if you touch your arm, for example, even if the avatar is completely misproportionate to your own body, it'll still touch its own arm in real time. And this added an insane level of immersion that I didn't even really think needed to be there until I played it myself. And as astonishing as this is, there's a huge problem that people have had with the game so far, and that's that they don't know how to progress the story from this point. And if you don't want me to spoil the satisfaction of figuring this out on your own, just skip ahead 30 seconds. The story continues when you go through this giant door that says quarantine on the front. And how do you open it? Well, there's a little bit of a catch. If you enter a game mode for the first time and go back to the lab, a yellow orb will appear on top of the structure that game mode is based in. Once you have all 6 orbs from each of the different game modes, go up to this staircase that's to the left of the body mall, and then you're going to make your way to this power generator where you're going to put 2 batteries into these sockets. Now go to the control panel that's right next to it, and then you can move around a small scale model of the crane in the lab, which will move the actual crane in real time. If you've unlocked one of the orbs, there should be a small line indicating where it is, and then you can move the crane to pick it up. If you unlock all 3 orbs from the same side of the lab that the quarantine door is on and drop them into these 3 spots, you will unlock that area. And back to the story mode, there is something that I really need to say. Everything about this game just feels right. If you see an object that looks destructible, it probably is. And that's what makes this game so enjoyable. You don't need a tutorial or instructions, you just kind of know what to do by nature. Literally everything has its own mass and weight and ways to destroy it. It's so natural feeling that it doesn't even feel like a VR game at some times. It does such a good job taking advantage of our human instincts to just do things without thinking about them. I thought this was just going to be a typical VR physics simulation, and instead I found myself swinging my arms around like an idiot just destroying objects that weren't even there. If I was in a combat scenario, I didn't plan out a strategy, I just took whatever I could use as a shield and ran. But even while I was under the control of my own instincts, the game still forced me to think outside the box at some points. There's no real set way to do this. If you have something at your disposal, you can use it. Whether we knew it or not, through all of the years of VR's existence, this is one game that we just needed. And I feel that it raises the bar so high and so hard to compete with that other developers are going to have to replicate this in the future, so really it just serves as a massive landmark. I haven't even played the entire game yet, and this is just about as close to perfect as a VR game can get. And it'll be a very long time before we see any other VR games that can even compete. The game gave me an insane first impression, but before we end the video, it's time for... Bonelab has one big bug and it's kind of hilarious. If you get a mace stuck in a barrel, it will occasionally start spinning for no reason at all. I have no idea why it does this, but it was honestly super hilarious, so I decided I would share it with you guys. Anyway, I'm enjoying Bonelab so much, and if you have $40, I would totally recommend getting it. This is Justin from Alternate Reality, signing off for now. See ya.